Hey, what's up, champions? Welcome to Growth Mode. I'm your host, Donnie Bovine, and I'm the CEO and founder of Success Champions. And I've spent over 20 years in the sales game, learning how to get better in sales and how to make it easier for everybody else to enjoy that game. I've also spent almost the last 4 years growing and scaling a business and figuring out how to teach others to do the same thing. Hanging out with me as always is a knucklehead and good friend of mine, Kevin Snow, who is a sales and automation tactician and supposed badass. Now, the dude's a fucking rock star. So in this show, man, we talk about everything about growing and scaling your business and just seeing how we can help you go big as hell. Kevin, on this episode, what the heck are we talking about?
So there are two things that people suck at in sales, and it's mostly because they hate doing, they put it off. One is prospecting, and the other one is following up. So today we're going to talk about why you think or why you feel like you're bothering people and you don't follow up.
Oh, this is going to be fun. Over the years, I've had people come out to me and say, Donnie, I feel like I'm just bothering people. I feel like I'm interrupting their day and, they don't want to talk to me in the first place. Here's the thing. If that's the case, you're doing sales wrong. If you feel like you're fucking up their day, if you feel like you're interrupting them, if you feel like you're not showing up and making them want to meet with you, two things are going on. First, you probably hate what you sell, or you're just not doing sales properly. Because look, at the end of the day, if you're going to impact the world with your business and services, you got to go tell somebody hello. And if you can't strike up that conversation, you're in a world of hurt.
So I think you can do sales properly and still hate what you sell but not have the follow-up issue. And the reason that I think that is because, when I do sales, my follow-ups are all scheduled. I leave a meeting and I've set the date and time that we're going to follow up and talk again. There's no surprises. There's no me calling people out of the blue saying, "Hey, just wanted to check in." So if you're doing that correctly, and if you're doing sales correctly and always leaving your meetings or your interactions with, "Hey, here's our next steps, here's when that's going to get done," you don't have the follow-up issue. So even you can still hate what you sell and be looking for the next big thing, but not have I feel like I'm interrupting people. At least not for the follow-up side. You might still have it for the prospecting piece. But for follow-ups, why are you calling people out of the blue to begin with?
Yeah, no kidding. So, I think for me, the fascinating thing is watching people interact from a sales perspective. They got this such a high need to be liked, right? This whole idea that the person's got to like me, and so every move they make, every strategy they try, everything they try and put in place, they struggle because they're seeing it from a perspective of, man, this person doesn't like me because I'm interrupting their day. And I think that's what hinders a lot of people from the follow-ups. It slows people down from the reach-outs and everything. And it's this whole idea that they just don't want to put themselves out there. And for me, there's two easy fixes to make this a lot easier. They just require patience. They require, discipline, and they require you to do other things that may be less scary than doing the reach outs or the follow ups or the like. And the first thing you do is you better have your ass out networking with a bunch of absolute badasses that are actively growing their business so you can be around other people that are going big. And then as you're doing your reach outs, you can make introductions and the like. And as they're doing their reach outs, they can make introductions and the like. Because look, we all know if somebody refers you, a lot easier to have that initial conversation. It takes a lot of the heat off of, that initial reach out. The second thing you could be doing is you better be putting on a shit ton of social content. So if you're not going to go the straight hardcore, salesperson style where you're reaching out, cold calling and everything, on the likes, then your choices are network or put out social content.
So I probably should work on my social content thing.
I give Kevin hell on a regular basis. I'm like, dude, up your fucking game because, he's a smart motherfucker and he's got a lot of sales, automation background and could become an absolute rock star in the space. But, he goes the networking route and so there is a third tactic and it's what Kevin does. And Kevin comes at social media. And we're going to do a whole episode on this, but he comes at social media from more of a playground to play on other people's content, and that's been his skill set and tactic of making it happen. But, I still going to harp on him that he could double his game if he would, start putting out his own shit.
I know. So I think there's...
Did you hear that? I know. Sound like fucking Eeyore.
Yep. Okay. I guess. So I think there's another issue at play too in the whole sales thing that is causing people to have this, not wanting to follow up and generating that I feel like I'm interrupting them and breaking into their day. And that's the fact that they look at sales as a competition. It's me versus the client. And if I get the sale, I win. And because that changes the whole dynamic, it takes it away from this sales conversation, which is ongoing. And just like when we hang out with our friends, it's like, hey, when are we going to talk next? Hey, I'll give you a call on Tuesday. Hey, let's go grab lunch on Thursday. There's always that next step in the relationship. But when it's that competition, they don't do that. And now you're stuck in this place of where, well, all right, I'm going to follow up on Wednesday, and what time should I call? And they're not there. Now you're in this never-ending cycle of follow-ups. And it's because of how they're approaching the whole sales thing.
Yeah, I love that. For me, I don't believe in closing a sale. We've talked about this on a couple of episodes, but I do believe in closure. And closure is you either get a yes, you get a no, or you get a significant next step. And that, if you're walking away from any conversation without that, hey, we're talking at Tuesday, 4 o'clock, it's on both of our calendars, there's follow-up invites, there's a Zoom link, there's whatever you're doing. If you don't have that on the calendar, then you got jack shit. Because all you're going to do is be chasing that son of a bitch down, trying to get them to get on a call with you, get into a conversation with you, something, and it's going to get you nowhere. And now, when you don't have that significant move, that significant next step, everything you do feels like a awkward reach out, follow up. You feel like a cheese dick salesperson because guess what? You're being a cheese dick salesperson because you didn't do your due diligence in the first place of getting some sort of next step. And people are like, well, what if I didn't do it? Can I save it? Yes. Reach out to the motherfucker and say, hey, can we set up a next step? When are we talking next on the calendar? And if you send out 2 or 3 messages and they don't respond, then call it over. Get closure. Take the no. Remove the no off the table. Because, a lot of this comes down to, and this is going to take us all over the place again, but it comes down to your pipeline is so shitty and filled so full of so much crap that these false clients that you think are going to tell you yes but just haven't told you no because you're afraid they're gonna, they don't want to hurt your feelings, have got you feeling like you got a freaking $10 billion pipeline when you really probably got a $30,000 pipeline of, one maybe client that might tell you yes, and the rest just don't want to hurt your fucking feelings. So if you don't get closure, if you don't get that next step, then you're doing nothing but fucking yourself mentally, in the game and moving forward.
It's almost like the reverse of imposter syndrome, and because you're looking at your pipeline, and most and the imposter syndrome, how it normally works for any of our listeners that don't know what that is you get a job or you get a client that comes on, you're like, oh god, I'm gonna screw this up, I'm not good at what I do. But this is the opposite, because you're now looking at your pipeline. It's like, oh my god, I rock. Look at this freaking amazing pipeline. I am this god of sales, and you stop doing the right things that kind of got you a pipeline, but you know what I'm saying.
Or you got the thing going on. Don't worry, I'll use your words for you. When you do the thing where you've got such a bullshit pipeline that's filled full of millions of dollars of crap. And in your head, it's either the imposter syndrome or it's this thing going on where you're like, oh my God, if all of this lands, I can't handle it. Right? So either way, you turn off sales because you've so tricked yourself into a real business MO, that you're really kicking ass when in truth, you're going to get to the end of the fucking month, the quarter, whatever else, and go, what the fuck? Why am I broke? Why is this shit not coming through? And
when I was doing corporate sales, for a while I was horrible at taking things off my pipeline. I was that sales guy who had the overly inflated pipeline that looked awesome, and one day I was like, fuck it, and I cleaned up my pipeline. I went through. It's like, I haven't been able to talk to them for 3 months. This is not a sale anymore. Closed, lost, did all these, moved all of them off, some of them into like drip things and follow up for later. And I cut my pipeline by like 50%.
Yep.
My manager freaked out. He's like, oh my God, what happened? Your pipeline is like half of what it was. I'm like, I know. I got rid of a fucking bunch of garbage. And he was like, he was like, just couldn't handle it. I'm like, don't worry, now it's accurate. You're no longer going to be telling your boss big numbers that aren't going to happen, and I can actually focus on the stuff that will, and I'll go sell more.
Dude,
so
I've done that to so many people where I walk up and I'm like, cool, let's look at your prospect list, and just cleaned fucking house, and they have this response of, oh my God, I have nothing. I'm like, cool, now you're prepared to actually do something. Let's go get some legitimate stuff. So if you're listening to this or watching this on YouTube, wherever the fuck you're consuming this, a healthy exercise is to go through every prospect you have, and if you don't have a next step, you got 24 hours to get one, or get them the fuck out of your pipeline. Because most times, if you don't have a next step of some sort, it's a fucking no. Or they would have set something up for you. So the asshole who goes, call me in fourth quarter, but won't commit to a fucking date, it's a no. Quit chasing these motherfuckers all over the place and get that shit out of your pipeline. I have no problem telling a client, go, look, dude, I'll take a no. If you ever change your mind, you can come back to me. And they have. I've had some come back. Most never come back, and I'm okay with that. Because now my pipeline is not filled with shit. And I drive sales trainers nuts with this. They're like, well, you need 7 touches and processes. No, you don't. You need fucking closure. Right? You need to get to some step of closure.
7 to 10 touches is fine in digital marketing.
Right.
It's not okay in sales unless you have something that you are closing that is going to be in the tens of hundreds of millions of dollars.
Absolutely.
Then I'm okay with it. But hey, I'm going to sell you 5 cell phones. Why do I have to meet with you 5 freaking times to close this deal?
Right. I'm going to build your website. You don't need 5 times to close the deal. I'm going to, sell a service of any sort. You don't need 5 times to get that deal done. You need one. Go ahead.
One good meeting. I signed a new client yesterday for $1,000 a month. One call.
Yeah, and what's funny is I'm gonna give myself props and then Kevin some. Is I'm a true believer in a one call close, and Kevin is fucking up in his game like nobody's business right now, and fully embracing this one call close thing, which I don't think you did prior to meeting me.
No, not so much. I was all about having, all right, well, let's meet again and do this and do that and
So
pussyfooting
so
around the
if
sale.
if a weird sales automation guy can figure out a one call close, then you guys can too. And we'll do a whole episode on it, I'm sure. But really, at the end of the day, man, it is about your look. If you feel like you're a salesperson, you're being a greaseball fucking salesperson. Sales is all about going to have a real solid conversation with people. So go have real conversations. Get to closure. And if it's not going to move forward, don't chase that shit down. Get out. Get closure and watch what happens. And so much more badassery and good shit will happen in your business. So, as always, guys, if you got any sort of tip, tricks, any sort of value out of this episode whatsoever, do us a favor and tell somebody else how to subscribe and listen to your show. We love your reviews as well out there, but telling somebody else how to subscribe means everything to us. Until next time, see ya.